Well, when you do your job and it leads to American citizens being murdered in cold blood by ICE, and your Department of Homeland Secretary Kristie Noem, maybe you shouldn't also be lining your pockets or at least be involved with the direction of a major couple of $100 million ad campaign contract to one of your cronies and buddies without competitive bidding. That is at the heart of 3 new articles of impeachment that have been drawn up by Representative Kelly, a Democrat of Illinois, against Kristie Noem. Already, more than 70 Democrats support it. Hakeem Jeffries, the future Speaker of the House, does too, as we make our way to the magic number of 218 in the House to impeach Kristie Noem. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF for this breaking news. And it matters. Some people might be thinking, Popok, we don't have 218 Democrats or fair-minded people in the House. How will we ever get there? We will. Did we ever think we were going to get there? Representatives Massey and Khanna started out on this quixotic attempt to get 218 signatures on the discharge petition for the Epstein files. They accomplished that. Even if it peters out at 205 or so Democrats and others, it's awful close. And it makes it an issue for the American voters. Which side of the Kristie Noem impeachment were you on as 435 members of Congress run for office all together in a stampede on November the 3rd? So it matters. Let me go through the articles of impeach with you. And thank you for being here with us. And thank you for supporting all that we do on Legal AF. 3 articles. And I think these will ring true for each of you. Obstructing justice. The foundation for that is that Kristie Noem, through a series of orders, many of which are being opposed in the courtroom. Judge Gia Cobb just today threw up her hands and said, how is blocking members of Congress, Kristie Noem, from providing oversight in federal ICE offices and centers? How is blocking them from doing that, making them wait 7 days or longer or at all? How is that not violative of my order that says you can't do that? And that's what Kristie Noem is doing. She's trying to block congressional oversight. That's been part of congressional appropriations for going on 15 years. Oh, they say, oh, we're not using that money. We're using the money from the big, beautiful bill, the $150 million of the $250 million of slush fund that Kristie Noem has been given through funding from the DHS, and which seems to have no limits, including her directing contracts for a couple of $100 million for her ad campaign to put her on the back of a horse in cosplay in a cowboy outfit. We'll get to that next. So we've got the obstruction of justice or obstruction of Congress. We've got violating the public trust. That encapsulates all the things that we're watching going down in Minneapolis and in Illinois and in other places. Every time there's a surge of ICE, ICE runs through my veins. That just means that First Amendment peaceful protesters are going to be abused or maimed or murdered or worse. Or that Trump's going to, through Kristie Noem, going to bait and goad peaceful protesters into doing something else. This is arrest without search warrants or arrest warrants. No due process being given. Given the green light for an out-of-control ICE rogue bullies to take it out on American citizens and fellow Americans. That's a violation of the public trust. Now let me get to the self-dealing. ProPublica reported on this. It kind of went under the wire. Let's put it on top. As you may have been watching, Kristie Noem has been starring in a series of ads, 9 in total, and a over $200 million ad campaign, which was developed by a company that she has been in bed with and been in a close business relationship with since they helped her win the governorship of North Dakota, Strategy Group. Strategy Group has as a major advisor Corey Landowski, who's tied back to Donald Trump, and Tricia McLaughlin's husband. Who's that? Well, Tricia McLaughlin, she's that beauty. She's that piece of work that goes on as the press secretary for Homeland Security, constantly going after Democrats and wasting our money in theft of honest service in her position. Well, in fact, let me remind you who Tricia McLaughlin is in all of her glory. Here's a clip.
Governor Walz, since he became governor, homicides have been up 50%. There's a revolving door of justice in Minnesota, and President Trump isn't going to sit idly by as Americans are in danger and public safety threats walk around with impunity. So we will continue to carry out operations. So far, there's been 2,000 criminal legal aliens, some of which your viewers just saw on their screen. Those individuals have been arrested and no longer pose a public safety threat to Americans. But of course, because our ICE officers and our CBP officers are seeing highly coordinated campaign of violence against them, they still need to be able to carry out those operations. And because local law enforcement have been ordered not to come to their aid when they're called, we do have to send those federal reinforcements so that we can continue with these operations and make sure that people and our law enforcement are safe.
Now, her husband runs Strategy Group. They got a contract for 9 of these ads. Let me show you a clip from one of them. This is one of the many cosplay that we've seen Kristie Noem do. You know, it's like Ice Barbie, and then it's like I'm fake FBI, and then I'm a cowboy, and then I'm wearing a Mexican sombrero. I mean, all sorts of crazy crap. Here's a clip to remind you of where your hard-earned taxpayer dollars are going to line the pockets of Kristie Noem's friends. Magic Spoon is basically the grown-up version of your favorite childhood cereal. All the fun, nostalgic taste without the sugar bomb. It's a wholesome, high-quality, high-protein, zero sugar cereal that still hits that Saturday morning vibe. Each serving has 13 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs, and 0 grams of sugar. So it's super fueling any time of the day and great for anyone who's carb conscious. They've got classic flavors like fruity, frosted, hot chocolate, and cinnamon toast. They're also launching new flavors in January this month that lean hard into childhood nostalgia. Classic marshmallow, reminiscent of a certain childhood favorite enjoyed by all, and s'mores, the ultimate campfire-inspired cereal. Both include real marshmallows and just 2 grams of sugar. Plus, Magic Spoon treats are crispy, airy snack bars with 12 grams of protein, and their granola packs, 13 grams of protein with 0 added sugar, perfect anytime. Look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or at your nearest grocery store. Or get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/legalaf. That's magicspoon.com/legalaf for $5 off. Now, what you're supposed to do to avoid fraud and to avoid charges of self-dealing and stealing from the American people is that you do competitive bidding. You get 3 bids. You know, you do blind selection based on criteria. You do proper procurement, it's called. And Kristie Noem didn't do that. She said, I got a couple hundred $billion. Oh, it's coming to me from the big, beautiful bill. Oh, I'll just make it into a slush fund and let me reward my friends. So they got the contract. They got the benefit. The question is, how much has she been benefited as a result? Nothing back to her. How do we know? Who's investigating it? So you have to start with articles of impeachment. You also start with oversight. I mean, right now, the Democrats are running interference in the House and in the Senate to limit funding for the Department of Homeland Security and redirect it to other places like the states to punish Kristie Noem for her violation of the public trust, for what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis. So let's do the math. Some people might be thinking, who cares? We only have 205, maybe 207 votes in the House for now. We also thought we didn't have the votes for the discharge petition for the Epstein files, and we did. To get to 218, it's going to be a heavy lift now, but there may be that we can use public censure, public attacks, public criticism, rain it down on these people, especially those who are in delicate electoral positions in their home state. In other words, they're at risk of losing. Make this a campaign issue. Which side of the Kristie Noem impeachment process were you on? See, that helps. That helps political accountability. That helps make it the issue. Because one of the things that Democrats are going to run on with their new contract with America for the midterms is anti-corruption. And so this is consistent with an anti-corruption message. You want to stop corruption of what you're watching in the White House, the self-dealing, the lining of their pockets, the policies that don't make any sense except when you trace the money back to Donald Trump or somebody in his inner circle or his billionaire or trillionaire friends or oil business or other businesses that captured a presidency like Elon Musk. If you're tired of that, then you're on the anti-corruption side, and the Democrats want you to be with them. So that's consistent. Violating the public trust, obvious. We got suits playing out all over Illinois and Minnesota, in California, in Portland, and Los Angeles, all against the Trump administration, against ICE, the National Guard, Border Patrol. Judges are throwing up their hands because the government of Trump is openly defying their orders. As we move to another crisis, another constitutional crisis, we lurch from constitutional crisis to constitutional crisis, from abuse of power to abuse of power under the Trump administration, and it needs to come to an end. She won't be the only one impeached. Donald Trump should be impeached. We'd have 4 or 5 dozen articles of impeachment. That needs to be done. Pam Bondi, although I don't think the Attorney General, we're going to have to, to paraphrase Richard Nixon, I don't think we're going to have Pam Bondi to kick around much longer. Has anybody noticed that she's not at any more press conferences? The last one she was at with Donald Trump, she was abused and embarrassed by him. He's let it be known he's lost confidence in her. She doesn't do any of the major press conferences anymore. Not about Venezuela, not about Minneapolis, not about Epstein, not about nothing. But for as long as she's here, impeachment proceedings would be a good thing. Todd Blanche, the same thing. Emil Bovee, Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Just for the short time he was in the Trump administration, I don't think, talk about boxing above your weight, I don't think anybody in the Trump administration was more unethical and more involved with abuse of power from the Department of Justice perch than Emil Bovee. I don't care if he's on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, because he's on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. He should be impeached. And Pete Hegseth, just to name a few, starts here, starts now. Glad you're here with us. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us continue to grow on Meidas. Help us to continue to grow on Legal AF. We don't have the billions that our competitors have. We don't have the billions of influence. We have your influence, your support. If we want to grow, we got to grow together. So if you want to give us the resources to do that for Legal AF, come over, become a subscriber of Legal AF. If you can swing paid membership, all the better. Now we've got the money we need to grow and to continue to add on content and contributors and cover things globally and domestically. Legal AF Substack, the exact same thing. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.